Hey guys, I'm going to talk about ads today and the cost of running ads for your IT business, for your MSP. So if you are an IT business or MSP, you might want to stay tuned to today's show where I'm going to go into some great detail on how much you should be prepared to pay for ads. But I'm going to top this off with a cherry for you guys as well. One of the things that you maybe already understand is that the lifetime value of your clients is extremely high. When I was selling managed IT services, we used to put in a 36-month contract. So if there was a new client that signed up, they had to sign an agreement that they would stick around for 36 months. Based on that, average client size, average client value per month, you can quickly see that the lifetime value of a client is actually quite a lot of money. And because of that, the reality for MSPs, IT service providers, is that most clients stick around for more than 36 months. They're maybe 7 or 8 years in some cases, even longer. So the lifetime value of a client is extremely high. With that fact embedded in your head, like if you understand that reality of what your average lifetime client actually is, the real question is, how much are you prepared to pay to acquire a new client? Okay. So I'm going to go into the math of this with you. And it's not me just as like a marketing guy trying to make you understand you need to spend lots of money with me to actually get clients. I'm going to just show you, I'm going to provide you some evidence, some data backed information here that will help you understand or some of the lessons that I've learned in a hard way so that you don't have to. So let's get into the video. I've, I've titled this little lesson that we're going to go through. I've called it George's webinar. And it's because George, he'd never really run, we're running meta ads, Facebook ads. Okay. And we're doing it to a webinar. George had done webinars in the past. He'd had no success with webinars. And I said to him, if you already know, webinars are the hottest way to actually generate interest in your IT business. Big problems with webinars, obviously, is getting people to register onto webinar, getting them to attend the webinar, and what you actually sell them in the webinar. What I'm focusing on in this video is getting people to register on. The solution to getting people to register on is actually to run ads. You'll find that if you try and promote a webinar organically, basically all the social media platforms want you to pay to play. Okay, as simple as that. So running ads. The issue that we have with George's ad account is that it's brand new. Let me bring it up on the screen here. Let me navigate to it. Hold on here. I thought I had it ready. He'd never run ads to a webinar. So I had to spin up a brand new ad account for him. And the issue with brand new ad accounts is that Meta, indeed on any platform, it doesn't have the data on types of prospects or leads. It needs to show the ads too. Okay. That's the issue. It goes through like a learning phase where it has to try and work out based on your ads and your landing page, who to actually show the ads to, who's most likely to register. And because of that, there is a learning phase. Okay. And this is the reality with any ad platform, not just Meta. And I'll explain in another video why Meta outperforms LinkedIn when it comes to MSPs and B2B. That's for another video. But let's just, the evidence here. George actually got, it says here 14 leads. He actually got 16. I'm not sure why it reported 14, but he got 16 people that registered onto the webinar. He was paying $45 per lead. You can see that here. It's in UK pounds because it was an account that I set up and I'm based here in the UK. So he was paying $45 a lead to just get people to register onto a webinar, maybe not even attend the webinar. Okay. So if you're going to set up a new ad account and you're going to start running webinars, and if you're going to pay to get people to register on, this is the price you're going to need to understand is normal. As simple as that. However, fast forward 12 plus months. How much are you paying? Have you been running ads continually over a 12-month period? How much are you paying for a webinar registration? Let me show you. Let me go down here. I'm going to go to my this campaign here. Let me just jump into it and I'll zoom in once it's loaded. Okay. And then hit maximum here. This is one that I'm running internally on and off this year. And you can see the name of it here. It's reached 46,000 people. That's a lot of people that this ad's reached. I have spent like almost $2,000 on this one ad and running this ad to reach all of these people. But what happens over time, as the algorithm learns, the cost per lead drops dramatically. Okay. You can see the cost per lead here. So I've had 258 leads and I'm paying per lead round about, I'm going to guess it's about $8 per lead at £5.63. That's how many I'm getting. So I have 258 people registered onto the webinars that I'm doing. This is over like a month period. So it's not just one webinar. There was like 2 or 3 of them. So they register onto the webinar, but 30% of them actually attend the webinar. Okay. So the cost per lead is actually higher than that. It's probably, do the math, like $25 for the people to attend. But this is what I've learned in doing this over the last 12 months is that when people opt into your webinar and they register, you get to hold on to their contact details. So you can nurture them over time and eventually you can get meetings in the diary. And that's what's happened. I've had people that I've had meetings in the diary with that registered onto my webinar. They haven't attended and they've become customers. So all is not lost. But going back to the lesson here, what I'm trying to explain is like George's problem is that it was a fresh ad account. Okay. The fix basically is to run ads for a longer period of time and throw more budget at it. The lesson though, within this is that you need to understand your cost per lead. Okay. You need to understand that's going to drop over time. And you also need to relate that back to the lifetime value of your client. So going back to that 36-month contract, average client value, if it's like a $1,500 per month or something like that, that's a lot of money. I could explain this all day long until I'm blue in the face. Instead of having to do that, I thought, how can I help you guys and girls that are potentially running ads already? You're maybe throwing budget and you're like, what's happening here? Or maybe you're thinking about doing it. So I came up with this little Claude Code dashboard. And this is based on data from my own ad accounts and from my client ad accounts. What a 12-month projection would look like if you're going to start running ads. So let's just go through it. And you can get access to this in my school community. You can, the link's down below somewhere. First of all, you got to set your ad budget. What's that going to look like every month? So there's a little slider here, what your monthly ad budget is. Mine's actually around about $2,000. Okay. That's my ad budget for the month. That's how much I'm prepared to spend at the moment. I'm with my own business for ads. And the next thing here, starting CPR, that's cost per registration. So for a webinar, we go back to the example with George. He was paying $45, that cost per registration. And then, as I say, over a timeline of 12 months, that cost drops. It drops dramatically. So I've got here $7. Again, that's based on my internal lessons. Then we've got attendance rate here in the dashboard. Attendance rate, I find 30% quite a good number. It's maybe a little bit aggressive. You potentially want to be a little bit more conservative in that number. But 30%, if you've got the right mechanisms in place for your webinar, that's how many people are actually going to attend. Then you've got basically how many, the percentage of people of those attending actually book a meeting with you. Like as the next step of your webinar, how many are going to book that intro call with you? The initial sales meeting, you could even say. And there's also a no-show. I'm really terrible at zooming in on this Mac. There's a no-show on the meetings as well. So that goes from people that registered on, we'll give you this example, but then it actually comes to the webinar, but they still actually booked a meeting. So I've set that at 7%. Again, that's probably a little bit aggressive, but if you've got the right mechanisms in place, that will work. Then there's your close rate. Okay, so you start getting these sales meetings in. Okay. What's your close rate? So what is your sales process? Is there a discovery call? Are you going on site to look at their network kit, their infrastructure, understand what they're doing? There's usually back and forth, and then there's finally the close. That can last 6 months, but it certainly was for me. And when I was doing it, so I put here 25%, adjust accordingly what your close rate here. And then the final one, your monthly client value. What is that? I put very low figure here. And this is purely based on, it's purely based on managed IT services. It doesn't include project work. It doesn't include margins on hardware or software. It's purely for the managed IT services contract. What does that value look like? Okay. Then we get into the results. You can see this graph here. Okay. You can see the cost per registration. There's a decay. Like my teeth that are starting to go as I age. We're starting at $45, but over time, as we throw more money to Mark Zuckerberg, that does go down. And I showed you at the start of this video, $8 per webinar registration. Very normal once you've been running these over a certain period of time. So that decays over time. And then there's your cumulative ad spend. You can see how much you're actually going to spend on the ads with Mark. But the most important stats are these ones here. This is the bit that you need to understand if you're going to be running ads, certainly to webinars, and you're planning to run and train the algorithm on who you want to basically come to your webinars or fill in your lead form. Okay. So there's funnel maturity basically. This is going to happen and you need to be prepared to pay to mature your funnel. Okay. So over time, it will probably be month 4 or 5 before you actually start to close meetings, to start to close actual clients. And you can see that here. We've got month 1, we get 44 people to register on with a $2,000 ad spend. 13 people actually attend. We're not going to get any meetings from it. Okay. Month 2, we get 59 people to register on with the same ad budget because that cost of the lead has went down. 18 people attend. We still don't have any meetings in the diary. Okay. So we've almost got 40 people that have registered on in those last 2 months. Still nothing in the diary. Still no traction. It's like hitting a brick wall. Month 3, we're still building. We're paying $25 per lead though, per registration. It's come down a lot. We get 77 people to register on. We get 23 people to attend. But guess what? We're still learning the webinar. We're still learning how to deliver it correctly. We're still learning what we're actually going to say in the webinar to get that meeting in the diary, that next step. We still have 0 meetings. Still, we've spent $6,000 in ads. Plus you potentially paid me to help you do this. And this is what we're at. When's this ever going to stop? When am I going to see results? Okay. Month 4. Basically, this is make or break. This is where this has to work, Scott. I'm spending $8,000 in ads now. I've had over 100 people registered to these webinars. But guess what starts to happen in month 4? We start to get meetings in the diary. We've had over 100 people registered to our webinars, and we've got at least 1 meeting in the diary. But still no sales. We're no further forward. We're no further forward. That's what you would think, but we are. The algorithm has now been trained at this point. There's also some learnings internally that happen. So the first one is you probably run about 4 webinars. You know what works, what doesn't. You know how to get people to attend. That's a big one. And you know how to follow up, an even bigger one, because the money's in the follow-up. Month 5, it's finally going to pay off. We're paying $16 per lead. We got 122 people to register onto the webinar. We get almost 40 people live on the webinar. Big result, okay? But it's cost us $10,000 to get here. But we're speaking directly to 40 businesses. We're only having to turn up half an hour once a month to speak to 40 local business owners. We've got meetings in the diary. They're starting to come in. We've got 6 in the diary, okay? You've got potentially an SDR at this point. You've got someone following up after the webinar, before the webinar, when people register on. we get our first trickle of clients in. And guess what happens at this point? We can project out that lifetime value of that client. And if we project out further, you can see by month 12, with the same ad budget, still at $2,000, where do we get to? We actually, month 8, we plateau. That's where we're basically, the funnel is mature. The cost per registration has reached a plateau where we're not paying any less. It's come down completely. You can see that here in the graph. It starts to plateau. By the 12-month period, okay, monthly recurring revenue. This is what we got. And this is based on our monthly client value that you can see here, $1,500 a month. This funnel more than pays for itself. The biggest issue with it, this, and you already understand this by watching, you watched this far in the video, is that there is an inherent, if everything was easy in life, like if I could just turn on ads and like just start getting clients, every MSP, every IT business, every business would be successful. But it doesn't work like that. And it's kind of like, it's inbuilt into our reality that, and this is basically machine learning. The machine has to learn who your ideal type of client is. It's the same in real life. There's learning that has to happen before you understand, and you have to go through that process. I'm really doing a really bad example of explaining this, but there's just this thing that you have to get over in your head where you might be like, I need to spend like $10,000 to get 3 sales appointments. But by month 12, I will have a pipeline that's working for me. If you can get over that, and if you understand by like month 4 or 5 that just acquiring one client will have paid for this system completely, then it's worth doing. But there's a risk here, and it's just like any business, there's a risk. Anyway, I hope I've explained this to you. It's early here, it's 8:20 in the morning on a Saturday. I really shouldn't be doing videos at this time of the week, but hopefully I've explained it to you. You can check out the calculator. I'm going to link to this inside our group, skill.com/MSP. You can have a play around with this. Anyway, take it easy. I'll catch you in the next video. A little bit of a different one, eh?